Welcome back to Mediums in Action with me, Martin Lake-Wilson, and my good friend and expert medium, Ian Doherty.
Good evening, Martin. I hope you're well, and I hope you're keeping well in this COVID. We soon, hopefully, will be out of it, and it's nice to be chatting again. And hello, folks and folkeses.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, kind of keeping safe. It's strange, really, because I live on a road that kind of blends into the countryside. So at the end of our road, it just kind of turns into countryside, and there's probably about 30 people or so who live on this road, and sadly we had, I think, our second COVID death on this street this week, and it was such a lovely man who passed. Sadly, he got it at Christmas, and then it kind of turned into pneumonia for him, and sadly he passed away a week ago. But the reason why I mention it is because he had such a wonderful smile.
Oh.
Every time we walked past, he had such a great outlook on life, and he always smiled. He was always tending his garden.
Yeah.
Honestly, he was fantastic to walk past him. You kind of, he was one of those people that you walk past, and if he looked up and just smiled and said hello, you kind of felt, wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. That a lovely soul. You know.
Yeah, he really was, and he, his wife is absolutely lovely, and it was funny actually. I talked to his wife last year, and she was outside. She has problems walking because they're in the mid 80s. And I said, "Oh, are you keeping well?" She said, I look at you and your wife, and I think, I hate being old. And I said, "Well, you've got a fantastic garden. You've got your husband." And she said, "It's great." She said, "Yeah." She said, "It's great." She said, "But she said, I've got a mind of a 20-year-old and the body of an 80-year-old." And she said, "It's really difficult sometimes."
Yeah, it is, though. That's one thing that my mother said. On the inside, you're 20 something, and on the outside, you're 60 odd.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, from my point of view, I mean, they both live very long. They've got very healthy and healthy families, and I'm sure a lot to be thankful for. And sadly, he passed away. But he certainly made a mark on ourselves when we moved up here. He was one of the first people I talked to. He kind of came over and started talking to us, and he was really interested and really made us feel welcome to be moving to a new town. So, yeah, wherever he is, I hope he's well. And
oh, bless.
I thought this week we'd talk about spiritual sickness, which I don't know if you go on TikTok, Ian. I certainly don't.
I don't actually know.
No, I don't. So we've got TikTok. There's things like Clubhouse. There's all these new social media places. And one thing that's kind of things that are really taking off on those channels are the paranormal and also mediumship. It's interesting. People are talking more and more about spiritual sickness. So people who are tarot readers or mediums or psychics say that if they do too much, then what happens is they get ill. So one website that I've noticed says spiritual sickness, you get aches, you get pains. When you are doing things spiritually, they can also make you physically ill. And basically what happens is you're kind of overexposing yourself to mental stress, but also you can cause problems in your physical as well. So you might experience headache, nausea, sweating, fever, dizziness, vertigo, severe tiredness, anxiety, and depression. And this has really took off. I know a couple of weeks ago there was a magazine article in a popular psychic magazine article saying, "Are you spiritually sick?" And that maybe you need to do some full moon ritual, or you need to allow the moonlight of the moon to interact with your aura, and this will clear any spiritual sickness. What do you think to this, Ian?
Well, I can't. Fortunately, friends, I can't swear here because I wouldn't be rude to you. But I want to use every expletive under the sun in saying what a load of nonsense. You know what I mean? I really do. When you're looking at it, spiritual sickness, as they say now, any sign, if you have the flu, a sneeze, if you got a pain because you slept wrong, is all to do with spiritual sickness. I'm hoping it's just a fad and it comes out as quickly as it comes in.
The issue is this has come from somewhere, and admittedly it's bubbled in the background where people have said It's like when we watched that program earlier this year, the Surviving Death, the Dutch medium. She had to go in a room and calm down and kind of regrow her energy. That kind of stuff, seeing that on television or seeing how mediums kind of perform on television. Yeah. I think it possibly has kind of given this credence, really.
Yeah, it does, because people in the mediums in the public eye, the notable mediums, they've got a lot sort of stand up to for people following them. The most haunted, in their what I would call shenanigans, that has put mediumship in a total bad light. All the play acting, if I can put it there, obviously to get people to watch the show, but it puts the wrong thing out there. Mediums are not in darkened rooms with candles on, and whatever. You know what I mean? It isn't the everyday people. So I think putting out this sort of thing with, like, there are websites which say signs of spiritual illness, fear and anxiety, resentment, guilt, shame, inability, chronic negativity, addictive behaviours. So is everybody that is in the sad situation where they're dependent on alcohol or drugs, are they having spiritual sickness when they've never even seen a medium? They might talk to one.
And also, half of those symptoms you've just described are what I can imagine most people listening to the podcast today have probably gone through over this last year with the amount of things that we've gone through over this last year in terms of if you've been affected by COVID directly, or whether it's been your business, or whether wondering, kind of where your next dollar or pound is, you will have anxiety. And sometimes anxiety doesn't, you're not aware that you are anxious. So you will experience some of these things and like shaking, or you might find it hard to breathe, or, you might have headaches, you might feel stressed. So I think, to me, it's potentially dangerous, to be honest, from a mental health perspective.
I do feel so, yeah. You put it right there, right on the nail there, Martin. It is. People will wrongly be thinking, I've got a spiritual sickness, and then that could come over 2 and 2 equals 9. Have I got a spirit attachment, or is there a demon there? I'm sorry to be funny there, ladies and gentlemen, but these are real thoughts that some people could have,
I totally agree with you, and I think if we step back and said, if you wasn't spiritual and you had those experiences and you was fairly grounded, you'd probably go to the doctor and say, I'm having these experiences, and they'd probably say, well, you're too stressed. You need to do something else. You need to, kind of take yourself out of the loop of, when you leave work, don't leave your laptop on you or your computer. Walk away from it and go for a walk, or do some drawing, listen to some music. So they would tell you to come away from that, and I think the problem is by tying this stuff with the feelings of that somehow it's to do with your soul ascending, or it's your ancestors kind of knocking on the door saying, we're here, sort of thing. It's utter nonsense. It really is. And one thing I'd say is, I first went into a spiritualist church in the early 80s, and there was nobody talking about, kind of spiritual sickness or attachments or anything like that,
No, it isn't. This is where I think both of us would come on board in saying that you need to educate yourself, read up on things, read books that are to do with spiritualism, mediumship. As we say, we always look at, I was going to say Dina Kuntz then, I got the wrong person.
Don't read them books, that will make you feel anxious. I wonder if I've got a demon, I'll pick up this Dina Kuntz book, which kind of reaffirms that.
There's a book I would recommend anybody to read, really. It's called From Seance to Science, and it talks about the spiritual aspects of mediumship, the universe, etc. And that's by Meek and Harris. That's the people who did that. The D. Scott Rogo I was trying to think of. He's a brilliant author, and you want to look at Raymond Baylis and people like that give a very balanced understanding of what is science, what is mediumship. Have a look on I think there's a Google Scholar, isn't it? It's either google.scholar or scholar.google, and it'll give you access to a lot of reports written by scientists, that you can access for free. Look at that sort of thing, and not TikTok or some, without being rude, some bloody stupid website.
I think what we're trying to say is be sensible about things. And I'll give you an example. About 4 years ago, for a long time, I've been doing tarot. I've done, kind of scrying. I've done everything, and I really got back into tarot again. And I decided for a couple of months to start to really get that experience of doing tarot readings on the phone. And so I started doing phone readings, and every time I was doing phone readings, it was like I was jogging 50 miles or something. I had to start wearing very light clothing because I was getting so warm and kind of sweaty, really.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is crazy. The heat was tremendous, and it would have been easier for me to say it's some sort of, it's spiritual effects. But I think aside from I wasn't drinking, but yet I was talking for 2-3 hours without even a drink of water is not the greatest thing in the world. The amount of perspiration I must have been, just talking constantly for around that time.
Yeah.
That's not good for you. So obviously that effect was happening. And then anybody who says telephone readings is easy and stuff like that, it's not, because there is a pressure, there is a stress. It can be very quick as well, because you literally have somebody come onto the phone reading, and you have an amount of time to really get that reading going and start delivering evidence. And my hat's off to anybody who does telephone readings, to be honest, including yourself, Ian. But I found the pressure, I think, and that's why it manifested as heat. So that sort of stress and everything, that's how it came out. But it did get a lot better. I started saying, well, okay, this is a physical thing. I'll start drinking more water. I'll start calming myself down. And also, as well as in between calls, I would, kind of walk around, just calm myself down and be better prepared for the next one.
Yes, that's it. It's exactly the same as I do. I'm always drinking, and between calls, I'll just have a walk up and down. Even when I'm on the call, I'm walking up and down, or I might just have a quick check of Facebook, and then the phone comes and I start talking again. So it is on that. But like I say, the heat could have been with activity on your brain, because you're working, you're receiving stuff from spirit, so you've got all that going on. Your normal senses, you're listening, you're responding to people, you're responding to spirit. There's a lot going on, and that could manifest itself a little bit of heat, with all of the everything going on, as you were said. I want to get this right. I feel here, every medium who does phone readings has a certain amount of stress, because you want to get it right for that person. You know what I mean? It's not about, oh, look at me, I'm good, I got 10 out of 10. You want that person to have the best reading that you can give them, So
that's absolutely it, Ian. It's that kind of pressure to not think, oh, how long can I keep these people on the phone, but actually, what's the best evidence I can give to these people, so exactly. I can provide them with guidance and advice in the situation that they're in.
I know. I often do anywhere from 50 to 80 readings a week. That is plenty for me. They're only a short 20 minutes normally, but there is still that where I now I will do a certain amount of hours, and that's it, regardless of what. I just walk away. I put the telly on. I speak to somebody. I'll go outside in the garden and play stringy with the cats. It's getting back to a normality. But not once have I ever thought, oh my goodness, I'm spiritually sick.
Have you ever had any sort of like I had the heat and everything? Have you?
Nope. Never.
No, I mean, it's like when we used to do ghost hunts. I used to feel tired and everything. And again, we used to walk around for an hour and a half to 2 hours, talking non-stop, communicating with spirit, giving readings, telling people what we were sensing in the pitch black at night. And sometimes I used to probably have about 3 or 4 coffees. And the next morning I used to think, oh my God, I feel like I'm on a downer. And I think the thing is you've got that adrenaline of doing an event, then you're doing having coffee and cake and buns at
Yeah.
11 o'clock at night,
Yeah,
or 1 o'clock in the
yeah,
morning.
it's when your body's normally sleeping, so it puts your clock out of sync a little bit. But yeah, I have felt tired afterwards on them, but I put it down to the traveling, the fact that you might go down there for 8 hours and you're working for 8 hours, because it's not just coming up and saying hello, it's welcoming the public, talking to the public, showing where the toilets are, answering questions. There's loads of it. It's just constant, isn't it?
With those examples, that's what we're saying to you, is if you hear people say to you, oh, you've probably got spiritual sickness or anything, then I think it's kind of a direct reflection that they've not researched, or they're passing on really bad advice. And I think what you need to do is look at the bigger picture, is actually look at how your life could be impacting on your mental health and what it's doing. And I think looking at it, I teach meditation to a lot of people, and often when people do meditation at first, there is often kind of a kickback, and sometimes there's a spike of anxiety. I mean, this is quite rare, but I can imagine how this could apply to people who are training to be mediums or psychics, is that they might have this spike in anxiety. And the whole reason is because you're learning more about yourself. When you start meditating and relaxing, you're removing these thoughts that are coming to your mind. You suddenly become aware, and I would say you become more aware of your life as much as anything. So you're aware of things in your life that aren't working correctly. So there's things that, it might be goals that you've missed, it might be a relationship, you suddenly see the holes in the relationship. And that's where sort of mindfulness and meditation, some people say, oh, I don't like that, it's sometimes it can be bad for you and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. It's not bad. Actually, what it does is it actually highlights the issues that are actually in your life, so.
Yeah, well, it does, definitely.
But that's not. But again, they wouldn't ever say, "Oh, I've got spiritual sickness," because after I did my meditation, I started, kind of feeling a bit, tired and a bit ill, and well, actually, you feel tired because you're relaxed. The reason why you feel ill a little bit, or maybe anxious, is because while you were sat there during your meditation, you suddenly realised that actually I hate my job, or I'm very stressed in my job.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's where this is mingled in. Is this? People are kind of thinking, oh, I'm feeling ill, and it's because I've just done something spiritual. And it's very much like that in the occult community as well. It's funny, really, because I kind of sit kind of on this sort of borderland between the paranormal and the occult. And when I look at the occult people, there's a lot of people in the occult, and they're similar again. Is they'll say, oh, I just did a lovely working towards Gaia, the nature god or goddess, or I kind of do this, and now I'm shattered all weekend, and I'm thinking, it must be the energy must have been draining from the god or the goddess, and actually, no, it's not. It's the amount of effort that you've been planning for 2 months to do this do this ritual.
Yeah.
Then you go into the woods in the middle of the night, and then you have a little bonfire, you're relaxing, and then you call out, and you're trying to connect with the consciousness or the deities, and then afterwards you're on a downer because your what do you call it? It's dropped. Your adrenaline's dropped, and all it's like Christmas Day.
Yeah.
What is Boxing Day? Boxing Day, you chill out in front of the television. Yeah. After all the preparation for nearly 2 months is all come to a head in one day, and then the next day you're feeling tired and thinking, I'm feeling a bit down.
Yeah, no, totally. One of the things as well, people say, oh, I'm feeling really tired after working, I've got to go for a lie down, or I've got to go and have a recoup, and I would say, particularly people who work in a psychic way, where the energy is, when the information is largely coming directly from them, how they feel, then yes, because it is their mind that is doing all that work, whereas when you work in spirit side, you were just relaying the information, you know what I mean? So there is a little bit there, but that spiritual sickness, things like headaches, upset stomach or pains, these are very natural things, the cat gets them, you know what I mean? So are they spiritual sickness,
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought it would be a great, well, we both thought it would be a great idea to talk about spiritual sickness, because how it's increasing, and we've seen it increase with
Yeah,
the anxiety that people are experiencing during the pandemic. So when you're kind of looking out on this, you can see how the growth in one thing actually directly relates to another. So if you feel that you are getting psychic or spiritual sickness, then again, be sensible. That's what we want you to do, is be sensible, be question everything else before you kind of say, oh, it must be spirituality, because I very, very much doubt that any spirituality is going to cause any sickness. If anything, spirituality actually is very, very good for mental health.
oh, definitely, definitely. That is very well said. Use common sense, please, folks and folkesses. If there are any questions, please send in to Martin and I.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll be back in another episode very, very soon. Please review the podcast if you like it, or buy us a coffee. If you follow the link, you can buy us a coffee if you enjoy and want to support this podcast. It starts from just $3, and we would very much appreciate it, because it really helps us produce this content for free and carry on producing this content for free.
Indeed, yeah. Well,
thanks very much, Ian, again, and
you, Martin, too.
and thank you, everybody else. This has been Mediums in Action.
Yeah. Bye-bye.